Thank you, listeners, for joining us. Elko Live today. Our Tuesday edition features our usual update in Elko City news. And today we're so pleased to feature our Elko City clerk, Kelly Woldridge, joins us in studio. And Kelly has brought with her Annette Robinson, who is our city clerk technician. So we're going to have kind of business license 101 today. Kelly, does that sound good?
That sounds great.
Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. And there's almost nothing that gets done at the city that might not have your fingerprints on it, and in a good way.
Oh, good.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. So your office is extremely busy. The city clerk's office, you retain records, you help people register, or actually I should say, sign up when they're candidates to vote or to be candidates in the election, right?
We do elections. We do all of our important city, well, they're all important, but all of our city records, all of our agreements, make sure that everything is signed and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And one of the big things that we do that we came here to talk about today is business licensing. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. We're in the middle of a project that we are updating our business licensing database. And we have found a very large number since May of businesses that are operating in Elko that do not have a license. So we've also found a lot of businesses that we've contacted are coming in and getting their license. So that is a good thing. So I wanted to talk a little bit today of like business licensing 101 is why do you need a City of Elko business license? And that's because it's the law. It's in our city code. And for most people that don't know how to get to our city code, you go to our website at elkocity.com. And right kind of in the middle, I'm in the middle of a website change, so I have to think about that for a minute. But right in the middle, there's a little button that says City Code. You just click on that, and you can search for business license, and it will come right up on what the laws are. So not only is it a law under City Code, it's a law under NRS, which is the Nevada Revised Statutes, that gives us as a city authority to license businesses, and also mandates that businesses are licensed by the state as well. So that's the first thing, is that it's required by law. But then a lot of people have asked us, well, why isn't it important that I have a business license? Is this just another bureaucratic thing I need to do? And it really isn't. Having a business license protects you as the business owner, because then it makes sure that you are following all the standards and all of the regulations to run a safe business. So it protects the business owner, it protects the public. So that's some of the reasons of why you need to have a business license in the city of Elko. So that's the other thing we get a lot of questions on is, well, I'm in Spring Creek, so I don't need a city license. So it's anybody that does business within the city of Elko. We license several people from several businesses out of state, because they're like contractors, any other businesses that are actually doing business in the city of Elko and make money from doing business in the city of Elko is required a business license. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about is that I mentioned in this project to do it, we found 55 businesses that so far since May that are doing business that are unlicensed. And we've had a lot of them come in, and what we're doing is we're giving them, we're sending them a letter the first time, and if they don't answer that letter, we will either send a second letter, or if I have enough staff and enough time, we'll go out and try to talk to them to come in and get licensed. So in our current code, it does say that any business operating without a license, we can fine up to $1,000 a day. Now, haven't historically done that, but it is in our code and is something we could do if we found a business that wasn't wanting to play with us. So in the sandbox nicely. Right. Get licensed.
And if you think about it that way too, Kelly and Annette, it's important for other business owners. I mean, it's only fair because the majority of people doing business they do possess a license.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
The 90% of them are definitely carrying a license, but it's, the 55 or whatever that we've found, I'd say about half of them actually have come in already now and have licensed.
Yeah, I've actually had to put a hold a little bit on them going out and looking because we've overwhelmed our other departments. And so something Annette will talk about is that any new businesses have to have an inspection from our other departments. When I say other departments, I mean the building department, the fire marshal, planning, and our development department. Plus, our environmental department has 2 pages of our business application that Annette will talk about that too. So before we get into that, real quick, I just had one more thing I wanted to add.
No, please do, Kelly.
That business licenses have to be renewed yearly. So, and Annette will talk about that. Not only are you required to have a state business license, or a city business license, you're required to have a state business license, and those also need to be renewed yearly. And so in the city of Elko, if you don't renew your business license annually when it's due, you'll get a nice letter from us after 30 days. Then you'll get another letter after 60 days. And what code actually says is that we are required by code that we should be posting in the Elko Daily Free Press businesses that are unlicensed. We haven't done that since I've been here for a little over 5 years now. And I know they quit that practice quite a long time ago, but it is an option since it's in code that happens, that we need to inform the public of businesses that aren't licensed, because it really is a public safety issue.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Kelly Woldridge is our Elko City Clerk, and alongside Annette Robinson, who's a technician within the office. And this is an important issue. Again, business licenses and who needs them. And so, Annette, we can start with you too and talk about what you do need to apply. You know, what kind of a business actually, would qualify for a license.
So any business that's conducting business in Elko definitely needs a city business license. They need to start off with a state business license. That's ultimately, they need to have that before they can even apply for a city business license. They also need to apply for their taxation license. Some businesses are exempt from that, but they still need to apply and get that exemption. After that, then they can fill out our application, which is an easy application. And if they have any questions, they can always call me, and my number is 775-777-7138, and I can help them go through that license. And I have people come in all the time, and I explain everything, how they need to get everything. I don't particularly know about how the state license works, but there is, I can help them with that process a little bit. There's some different questions. So if you have a home-based occupation and you're living within the city limits, you need a home occupation permit, and that's through city planning. So that's definitely, if you're a home-based business. If you're a food business, you definitely need to get in contact with the health department. So those are some other things on top of our city business license that needs to be done. Contractors and like cosmetologists, they need to have their cosmetology license, their contractor's license attached with their application for the city, so that we're making sure these people are compliant with, the regulations of contractors and cosmetology. There's some other things like real estate brokers. Do they have their broker's license, that kind of thing. What else?
So I wanted to touch quickly on the home occupation, and that is a lot of what we're finding that is unlicensed. It's people that are out selling tamales on the roadside, or
peddlers,
out,
fruit,
or doing home-based like cooking businesses, like selling cakes or selling cookies. And even if they live in Spring Creek and are doing that and doing it in the city of Elko, they need to get a license. So we do peruse Facebook. Of course, that's where we all get our news.
That's
I'm
right,
just joking.
Exactly. I know, but it's pretty apparent. You're right.
Yeah, we do peruse Facebook and look at things that it's like, oh, they're not licensed. We need to try to contact them, and we're always happy to help people go through it. Everybody, I've heard a lot of complaints in the last few years that I've been here of how difficult that it is to get a license. And so my goal really has been to make it not difficult.
Yeah, and it's definitely not difficult at all. Like I said, I am available. I get calls all the time. I explain everything. I help people fill things out sometimes. So we definitely are very helpful in getting that. And please give me a call or email me.
I think it's fair to say, too, that both of you ladies are professionals in the community, but you're also both local people, and you have a care and consideration for the community. You treat people with courtesy, and we're just trying to help people be compliant because, as you mentioned, this is really all about safety. You don't want to get people, someone trusting buying something on Facebook or, a food item especially, there could be some serious consequences.
There could be, absolutely. So, our goal is to protect the public, but also protect the business owner. And as a business owner, if you have your business license, you can use that in your marketing, that I'm licensed, I follow all the state, I follow all of the city regulations, and will help your reputation as a business and hopefully increase the amount of business that you get. And we really are supportive of local business, and we want people opening businesses in our city and want our city to thrive. And it's even all of our information is available on our website, again, at elkocity.com. And if you just go to the government tab under licensing, all of our forms, everything is on there, and all of the rules and regulations. And we did mention, that was one other thing I wanted to mention quickly, is we also not only license businesses, but we license peddlers. We do permits for special events. We do liquor permits.
Gaming permits.
Gaming, liquor licenses, gaming licenses, temporary liquor licenses, street solicitors. And I do get a lot of questions about that, and I've been trying to update our Facebook quite a little bit about we've approved this solicitor or not that solicitor, because we do get a lot of calls about this person is at my home selling something and I want to know if they have a license and if they're safe. So
yeah, and that's really good. That's a good recommendation from the police department. And anybody who does go door to door, although we should explain there are some exceptions for like youngsters, I think, or for school fundraisers.
For school fundraisers.
Okay.
Or if you're doing
religious.
Yeah, religious, or if you're doing something like Tupperware. People don't do Tupperware. I just aged myself. So
okay. There might be. I'm not sure.
There's that other kitchen thing that
exactly.
you can do.
Pampered chef.
That's it, Pampered Chef.
Okay.
We don't need to license any of those type fundraisers.
Home parties or something.
Yeah, so...
Unless if it becomes something more than occasional sales, though, right, Kelly? Then you kind of start treading into having a home-based business.
Correct.
Yes. About that, like we have a lot of special events going on, and that's how we're finding that they're going to every event here in Elko, and then I see on Facebook that they're also selling online. So that's how we've been contacting people that, hey, you need to get a city business license. Because actually, the sponsors of those events are actually paying for those vendors to have a license, because for that specific event. It would be easier on the sponsors if, they were already licensed. It's cheaper for them.
And I think that's a good point, too, is the Elko Area Chamber of Commerce, I believe they require their members to have business licenses, and that is something that they check on.
Yes, and that is great that they do that. And any liquor licenses, too, if you're ever... if you own an establishment and don't have a liquor license and you're getting from a distributor, the distributors call us right away to verify licenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that, again, is their that's their livelihood. They can only distribute to licensed businesses. And that's where we get into some of the privileged business licenses, right? Where you would think the majority of people, anybody listening to this program, that gaming, that's coveted and it's expensive. A brothel license, for example, that is also something we have seen in our city now historically, the process of liquor licenses to own bars.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, all of those are privileged licenses, which means that the onus is on the business owner to run the business correctly. And there's a lot of information in our code about that. You need to be of good moral character and professional in being able to run that business. And so our police chief, Ty Troughton, is very involved in our business licensing and our permitting end of things with the city clerk's office, because most of that has to go through him for his approval for safety reasons.
Kelly Woldridge is our Elko City Clerk, and Annette Robinson is our City Clerk Technician. We're talking about business licenses today here on Elko Live on KELK. There's another aspect of this, too, if you do plan to open a brick and mortar business, right, Kelly and Annette?
Correct. So one of the other things that we can do for you at the city is if you're moving into a building that's been previously occupied by a business, but you're a new person there or you're changing ownership, of a business or changing addresses of a business. A lot of our other departments in the city have requirements for that. So it's important we have what we call a development meeting. And prior to COVID, we used to do those every Thursday morning. So everybody knew, it's Thursday morning development meeting, and we could tell people just show up to that meeting. But now we schedule an appointment. So if we have someone that comes in and says, I'm looking at purchasing such and such at this place, we'll look it up. One of the things we have to do is look it up and see when the last time that a business was ran there, and then the last time it was inspected. Because if it's been vacant for a year or more, then the building needs to be brought up to new building codes. So that's one of the important reasons that we like people to come to us before they open their business and before they sign leases, so that they're really aware of what the city regulations and codes are.
That's a really important point, and whether or not realtors might be required to disclose some of that, or certainly a property owner, but it is your responsibility before you sign that lease to know that, correct?
Absolutely, and I know the realtors all work with, a lot of that goes through our planning department, and they call Kathy frequently to see if there's any special use permits on any buildings or any of those kinds of things. So that's why it's important. Or even our building department could say, I put a stop work order on that building for this like a year ago and I haven't heard anything. Those kinds of things happen. So it's important to do your work before you sign the paperwork.
But I don't want to discourage people from not, if they didn't get that done before they start this business, because once they get me the application, I will send it out for inspections to ease their mind so that they can make sure that everything's up to code. So that can be done on the back end if need be. So,
and that's another important point too, between Kelly and Annette. We're having this conversation. It's not about going out and shutting down existing business. It's about bringing people into compliance.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's about creating more awareness and including people. And you mentioned Kathy, and that's our city planner, who is Kathy Laughlin. And she is so instrumental in seeing some of our older buildings be occupied and supporting businesses, supporting redevelopment areas, for example. And so she's actually a good person to have on your team, right, Annette?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and Kelly?
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
I even talked to her this morning about something, so I talk to her all the time.
Yes. And so she, again, another local professional who has a deep background in the community, knows a lot of people, has a great understanding of some of the historic uses of these properties. So it's not something to be discouraged about, but obviously something to feel like the city is kind of part of your team.
Absolutely. So and I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but it is important to know that every time you apply for a new business license, we're going to send it out for inspection. So we'll send it to Kathy, we'll send it to the building department, we'll send it to the fire marshal, Jamie, just to make sure that business meets codes and is safe, meets their regulations for each department, and is a safe place to run a business. And if it's not, what do you need to fix, and how can we help you do that?
Right. You're not just going to red tag everything.
No.
That's not,
Nope.
No.
It would be tough for the city to be in business if that happened. And then, we have nasty elections and all kinds of things happen.
We don't want that.
No. We have people who work together, again, to help create a vibrant business community. So as I think you alluded to, Kelly, there are temporary permits, the door-to-door peddler licenses, if you will, special event permits. Is there a timeline that's best, either Annette or Kelly, of when people should start applying for those kind of permits?
Code says you need to 30 days prior. I mean, we can get it done before that, but it just helps the other entities, like the police department, if it's a large event. They need to know if they need extra staff for those particular events. But I will work until the minute's due if it needs to get done. So,
and one of the biggest things I got complaints about when I first started is how hard it is I have to go around to everywhere and get signatures, and we've stopped that. The only place that you need, if you have a special event permit or any of those solicitors or peddlers or parades or any of that, the only place you need to go in person is the police department, because Chief Troughton still wants people to be there and he wants to talk to them about safety in the event. But otherwise, we will send it via email to all of the other departments for signature, so you're not running all over town to get those, unless you come really late and we can't get it that way, but usually we can make it happen pretty quickly.
All right. So if you're thinking about doing something, say, for the holidays or, right, so now's the time to start getting on the permits.
Definitely, yes.
Okay. We're talking with Annette Robinson and Kelly Woldridge from the Elko City Clerk's Office. And we wanted to mention, too, that there are lots of benefits. Well, I think you did touch on that, Kelly, because you talked about, it helps legitimize your business, and it really elevates that and the confidence, of the consumer, puts you in good standing with the Elko Area Chamber of Commerce. It's for goods and services. And if you have a question about whether your business qualifies, because I think that we alluded to that. There's a lot of business that's going on social media anymore, right? So
that's the place to advertise.
Yes. So we want to make sure that people are protected there too, because that's another reason why if you're dealing with a licensed individual, you can have confidence in purchasing from them.
Yeah, that's definitely correct.
And, and we do get those calls with people like, well, I just hired this guy, walking by and said he does roofing. And I hired him. Is he licensed? And unfortunately, we have had events where people have done that and they've put lots of money down on something where their roof isn't finished, or
fence is a common one.
Fence is another common one. So
painting.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten lots of calls about painting, fencing.
Which is another important distinguished, or something to distinguish from, is handyman versus contractor license. So when you do come in and want to be a handyman, there's some regulations with that you can't do more than $1,000 of work on one certain property as a handyman. There's a lot of things you can't do as a handyman, and you have to sign off acknowledging that you understand that and that you are not going to do those things. And so a lot of the contractors, they can't pull permits, building permits, unless they have a business license. So that's one of our other checks that we do.
So that is an important indicator that you're going to be protected as a property owner if you're going to hire someone to do work, to ask that handyman if she or he has that handyman's permit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, ask about that. And then if they don't, buyer beware, because ultimately the property owner is the contractor in that case. But on these big projects, there is a Nevada contractor's license that's required, correct?
Yes, there is. And you get that at the Nevada Contractors License Board, and they also are online. And we do check when we have contractors come in to make sure they have that license before we'll license them.
And that's really important too. People will purchase things like outbuildings or those they seem like temporary garage structures, like a shelter to put over your driveway. Those are things that you really do need to connect with the city before you install them, because there are requirements, variances, setbacks, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So, and some of that's way over me, but absolutely, if you call us, I can get you to the right department if you have questions about that, any of those building or setbacks or part of our planning and zoning, any of that.
Because you don't want to get the surprise later that you've had something installed and paid for it, and then the city.
And you have to move it.
Exactly, that it's
and
not
pay more money.
Exactly, because it's not in compliance. And keep in mind that the city, as they've talked about. Perusing Facebook is an important resource for the community, but it's also other business owners and it's neighbors, people who just have concerns, because now we have a code enforcement officer, right, Kelly?
Yes.
So,
and the code enforcement officer has just recently gone to a full-time position, and she hasn't been working on the business license part of it just because it was a part-time. So we're in the process of kind of working with her on assisting us in this project, and helping us go out and talk to businesses that we've sent letters to and they still haven't responded to us, or some that haven't renewed their license for several months, and we know you're doing business and we've contacted you and we've talked to you and you say, I'm going to come in, and you never do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time for a little more enforcement. So does Elko County require business licenses?
No, they do not require a business license in the county.
They do not. So that's where we get a lot of confusion sometimes, is that, well, I live in the county, I don't need a license. But you do if you are making any money off that business within the city of Elko limits.
And I think that just that statement might surprise a lot of people because I think there have been many business owners who do have business licenses in the city and the county who say Elko County needs to get with the times and actually require business licenses for the various reasons we've been discussing. And then business owners actually help to pay taxes, and that helps to pay for roads that get to their businesses. Delivery trucks bring materials and goods to their homes and drive on county roads. And so it's part of the process of
Absolutely.
being responsible, right? Being part of a municipality or a county.
That would definitely help things. It wouldn't, the confusion, people, I live out in Spring Creek, so I don't need to have a business license because I know that the county doesn't require it. But
Right. We've had some of those instances of people who've been surprised they're operating a business out of a garage, and then a neighbor will complain and say, you've increased traffic in my neighborhood at all hours, or things that this isn't what we bought into. And, again, that's a county concern. If it's happening in the city can deal with it.
Yes, we can. And so if there are rules about a home occupation. You can't repair cars in your front yard. We have gotten complaints about that. And you can only have so many visitors per day and have to have so much parking. If you are renting, we need to know your landlord is okay with you running this business out of your home. So we'll walk people through that and help them when they call us, not when they call us.
Right. Because we're positive here. This is happening. As you said, of the 55 unlicensed businesses you discovered, about half of those have already come forward.
yes, they have.
So it sounds like they just weren't aware.
A lot of them were not aware, so this is why we're doing this.
Yeah,
Business 101.
I'm so glad. Business License 101 here on Elko Live today. So what we haven't answered, obviously people do have questions or topics that we haven't covered. Again, there are permits required, if not licenses, for special events, for traveling shows, anytime you want to conduct some kind of performance, if you're not already a business doing
Correct.
that. Yeah.
So if any of the events that we have at the fairgrounds, those have to be licensed and permitted. A lot of them are fire marshal and our building inspector goes out and makes sure, like the carnivals, we have to look at those before they open to make sure that they're set up safe and running safe. Even like the mud bogs or the big truck shows that come into the fairgrounds, all of those require a special event permit.
So you're in good company, even if you're selling tamales.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's all part of it. So the best way to reach the city clerk's office, would you say, Annette?
For the business license, my phone number is 775-777-7138. And again, my name's Annette, and will definitely be there to help you in any aspect of your business, and we'll try to get you licensed.
Any idea how many licensed businesses we do have, or is that sort of an out of the...
We have, the last time that I looked was about a week ago. We had exactly, 1,990, but it ranges anywhere around the 2,000 mark on a daily basis.
And if you do have questions about this process too, we also feature the Elko Area Chamber of Commerce monthly on this program. And Chamber CEO Billy Crapo is just a dynamo in connecting people and encouraging compliance and just helping people to understand this process and why it's upheld by the majority of business owners in both the city and county, it's probably safe to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're a mom and pop and you feel like maybe it's unfair, well, talk to one of these wonderful professionals in our studio, and so they can walk you through it and help you understand, because maybe you have a misconception about what's required. That's pretty likely.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that we do have our business license application in Spanish available. I don't have the Spanish version on our website because I keep thinking I'm going to get our new website up and running, and it just keeps getting delayed. But we do have the forms available in Spanish, and I can also, on the state website, which is Silver Flume, where you get your state business license and state tax, there's a way to get that in Spanish as well. And if people have trouble seeing that, we're happy to show them. We do have interpreters that I can contact. I don't speak Spanish, and that doesn't speak Spanish, but we have several folks at the fire department that do. They're usually my first call if they're on shift, or at the police department and other city staff that have signed up, that we can call them just like that and get interpretation.
And you might be surprised to know that there are the various fees are actually pretty affordable and reasonable when you consider what you have to gain from being a licensed business.
Yes. So to get a business license as a new business, there's a $25 application fee, and then it's $34.50 for the license. So it's $59.50 to get a new business license with the city of Elko. The renewals are a little bit different because the renewal depends on your gross income, and it's your gross income that you made within the city of Elko. And so there's a form that says, depending on what your gross income was, how much you pay for your renewal.
All right. But again, these professionals can walk you through it. Annette, did we get to most of the topics, if not all, that you were hoping to?
I think Kelly covered it all.
Sorry. I told Annette if I talk too much, just bump me and stop.
You guys
I'll go
did.
on forever.
I was like,
You did great.
She was doing great.
No, between the two of you, and that's important to know. This is busy, but you will always find someone to help you, and you're both very punctual. You get right back to people. You don't keep them hanging on. So, especially when it's something as important as a business or a small business, people are really passionate about their livelihoods.
Yes, and they should be, and we like to see that.
Well, thank you. Before I sign off, I was just going to get a quick update from you, Kelly, because you're on hand for almost every single city meeting, even advisory meetings, if not you, a staff member. And we want to tell you how much we appreciate that. You facilitate these online meetings, which is hard. Sometimes I'm the one at home sitting in my sweatpants with a cat on my lap and saying, I can't hear the city council meeting.
And I appreciate that when you do that, because
good.
sometimes there's things we can do. And can I talk just really quick for a second?
Please.
Is there a second to talk about that?
You have all the time
we
you
have
need.
2 different ways to see meetings online. So you can see it through, and that just the city council meeting is the only one I'm talking about right now, is that you can see it through the go-to meeting, which that number is usually on the agenda, and you can join the go-to meeting from your phone, from your tablet, from your computer, anywhere. But then we also, which we rolled out about a little over a year ago, is what I call it, it's our Agenda Online program. And that's where you can go in and see the city meeting live. You can't participate. GoTo is the only one you can participate. So a lot of times I'll get people texting me or pinging me and saying, I can't hear what they're saying, or it's not working. So I have to see, is it the GoTo that's not working or our Agenda Online that's not working? So usually it's our agenda. We've had some trouble with our Agenda Online. It's working great now. I shouldn't have said that because now I've jinxed myself. So, but it's working great now. And that's why you'll always see us from the clerk's office kind of chasing people around meetings saying, please speak into the mic, because those listening can't hear you and they want to hear you.
Exactly. Thank you for explaining too. I didn't realize that there were the 2 separate services. So GoTo and Agenda Online, and that's really helpful going forward. So thank you. I'll be able to, sometimes I'm probably on one or the other. Who knows what I've clicked. So, and just catching up quickly, I know there was an agenda item on the Tuesday council meeting of late, which was kind of a swift session on the 12th of September. There is consideration of what the city decided to do with Anthem Broadband, reimbursing the city for property damage claims and related expenses. It's a big tab. It's $209,206.25.
Yes, and before the meeting that day, Anthem brought a check in to us, and so they were present at the meeting if there were questions, but they did make that payment, and we continue our franchise agreement with them.
Oh, that's terrific news. So good move, Anthem. That was not something you wanted to see dragged down, I'm sure. And then GBC Theater is going to be filming on some historic stretches of City Street because they're going to take advantage of those cool stone walls, right?
Yeah, that sounds actually really kind of exciting. And so City Council at the last meeting approved for them to close, I think it's 4th Street. We can't close 5th.
It's Pine Street between 4th and 5th.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
And then it's 4th Street between Court and New Pine.
Just for short durations.
Short duration. So Friday it's from 5 to 9 p.m. and then Saturday it's from 8 to noon.
That's great. And they'll be filming for the production, the fall production on campus. Macbeth, Great Basin College presents, and they have terrific actors who are joining them. Of course, some of them are favorites and they're veterans, and some are brand new. So it's always fun to see their talents. And this is going to be a condensed version, if you will. And so it'll be a little contemporary. And at the same time, it will include some other elements like this filming. So it'll be multidimensional. So there you go. Thank you for the approval for that GBC
Yes.
Theater project. So, Well, ladies, as always, we appreciate the attention and the care that you give to your positions on behalf of the city. Annette, we're really lucky we got you. You're retired from the library and came
did.
right over to the city.
I did.
Yes, so
I'm
thank
very
you.
lucky to get in that.
I know, isn't that librarians know everything?
know.
Yes,
And she knows everybody, so that helps.
yes, it helps. And if she doesn't know, she knows how to find out. Yes, so thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Lori.
And thank you, Kelly. I
Thank
think
you.
that Elko is a homecoming for you, right?
It is.
Yes.
So I've been here 5 years now, and I know the rumor's kind of out there. I am planning on retiring in April or May. I haven't quite decided which one yet, but I have my 30 years totaling because I worked for the state for 25 years before I came back to Elko.
Oh, well, we'll make it a long goodbye, just like we did with
Okay.
Curtis Calder.
Perfect.
Yes, you deserve that time, but you just have made enormous differences in how city government is, well, certainly in your position as the city clerk. My gosh, as we talked about in the archiving, in the access, the transparency, the accountability, Kelly. I didn't know about the retirement, so that'll be sad, but it'll be happy for whoever succeeds you, because you'll be leaving these great big shoe prints that'll be easier to fill because you've done so much groundwork.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
I have loved this job and love working for the city. So I always say I'm going to have FOMO when I'm not there.
Well, get online with the cat on your
There
lap
you
and
go.
watch the city council meetings. All right. Thank you, Annette. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kelly. Thank you, listeners, so much for joining us for another edition of our weekday show, Elko Live, here on KELK. We're so privileged to get to bring you this news and information weekdays here on KELK.